welcome back to another Sensible SENCO video. And this week I thought I'd talk about social media for SENCOs. Okay, so I'm going to start with Facebook because it's probably the most popular social media out there. We have apps on our phones, our iPads, our tablets, they're on the PC. It's really easy to use. And most of us would have started using it from a personal perspective, but now we're using it from a professional perspective as well. You probably came to this video from Facebook, unless you were already subscribed, of course. Facebook actually has some really specific SENCO groups. So the biggest one on there is actually SENCO support professionals. Although there are others, but that one has got, I think, about 9,500 members in there, mostly SENCOs who can answer questions for you. You've also got my groups, so Sensible SENCO and SENDCO Solutions. And then there are groups like SENCO Forum, SENCO Network Group, Send Leadership and UK SENCO and Inclusion Managers. If you put in the search bar at the top and then click the little tab to say groups, you can come up with a whole load of different groups that might be appropriate. So you might actually find one that's specific to your local area. I typed in things like inclusion and managed to find a pretty good inclusion group to be a part of. You can also find specific groups for special educational needs. So for example, if you've got a child with ADHD, you might want to join an ADHD support group. Apart from those, you then have company groups. So Educate have their own pages and groups that you can go and ask questions on and talk with other users of their products. And Twinkle is probably the most popular one out there. So Twinkle, lots of you have subscriptions to it, but they also have groups. They have wellbeing groups, they have SEN educator groups. There are groups for Pupil Premium leads. Although I have to admit, I've not managed to find many for safeguarding leads, probably because the very nature of being a safeguarding lead is that you can't discuss the issues you're experiencing. And then of course there's your access arrangements. So if you're in secondary school and you need advice around access arrangements, there is actually a specific group on Facebook for that. I'm going to come back to those SEN specific groups though, so the ADHD, the autism groups, colourblind, dysgraphia and selective mutism. They're all groups that I'm a part of. However, some of them are for parents. Most of the groups will ask you questions to let you in. Now, be honest with your answers. You can get caught out if you're not careful. I remember joining a CISRA group, so that's the analysis of your SIMS data. And I was honest on there. I did say who I was and they did actually let me in, and I then asked a question that they didn't like and they booted me out and told me that my answers didn't fit with what they wanted. Some parent groups will let SENCOs in, others will be a little bit more wary, and sometimes they'll let you join for a limited period. Before the age of Facebook, I was actually part of an MSN group for achondroplasia, which is inherited dwarfism. And I had to support a student who had just started her periods and was really, really struggling. And I asked to join this group. Now, I don't have achondroplasia, I don't have a child with achondroplasia, I just had a student I was supporting. Fortunately, I knew the admin and she allowed me to join that group because she could see I was trying to get information for a very specific purpose. And I find being honest from the very beginning with these group admin can often open the door for you, even though you don't necessarily always fit their entry criteria, if you like. I would also say be careful of what you are posting because you don't know who else is in the group. We've seen a couple of times in governor Facebook groups where a governor has posted something, and of course we can find out very easily which school they actually come from, and it's backfired on them. We've also had that where people have posted in wellbeing groups and then found that somebody has gone and told the senior leadership what was posted the following day. I don't say I actually agree with that, but just be really wary when you're posting things that you're not giving away your school, you're not saying anything specific about individuals, but it's coming across in a general way. If in any doubt, message the admin and ask for it to be posted anonymously for you. I think Facebook's a really good source of quick answers. Very rarely do you have to wait more than an hour, and if you are waiting more than an hour, just go and check that the grammar of your sentence made sense, because quite often it didn't, and that's why people haven't answered you. You tend to get a few responses as well, and some of them you have to take with a pinch of salt. I know my local authorities very, very well. I know quite a few local authorities around the country quite well because I've worked with them for various reasons. But if you suddenly came to me with a question that was quite specific to your local authority, I would actually really struggle to answer it, and I could give you an answer, but it might not be right. Or maybe it is right, but somebody else disagrees with me, and you've got to then try and work out whose advice to take. I would always say go with the person who's able to evidence their answer. So whether they're quoting you something from the code of practice and they copy and paste it into their answer for you, or they give you the paragraph number, or whether they're actually attaching the document from the local authority that references the answer they're giving you. That's often somebody who is actually what we would say in the know, if you like, and is giving you the right answer to the question you're asking. Sometimes, though, we have to admit that there isn't a right answer, it's an opinion, and we all have different opinions of different things. Oddly enough, Facebook does have some etiquette rules that go with it. I hate seeing F, and a lot of the admins in groups will say in their rules, do not use F. F is used when people want to follow the answers to a question. Now, if you've just posed a question on Facebook and you're desperate for the answer, and you suddenly get a notification to say somebody has put something underneath your question, and you open it and find there is an F there, or somebody who has written, oh, I'd like to know the answer to this as well, it's really annoying. If you click on the top right hand side in Facebook, you can actually follow the post. There's also a search function. I don't know whether it's me, but I get quite annoyed at seeing the same question posed over and over again. And the one that's really got on my goat this week is to do with risk assessments for EHCP students whilst the schools are closed for the coronavirus outbreak. And I have seen the same question posed probably 20, maybe 25 times, and very often within the same group. If you use the search function, first of all, you'd find it's already been asked. If you scroll down the screen for that group, you'll find it's already been asked. And if you click on the files button, you'll find loads of people have actually uploaded files with that answer already in there. So before you post something, have a think, other people are probably asking this too, because they must be, otherwise I wouldn't be asking it. Do I think it might already be there? And try some of those things first. I promise you, it'll save you time and you won't get people responding with, scroll down, look further up the page. I would also say, don't cross-post into 5 groups. So if you joined all those SENCO groups I said at the top, and then you copy and paste the same question across to all of them, you're going to find the same people are in the same groups as you. And it's always going to be probably the same people who are answering you. Yes, some groups have different audiences, but generally speaking, you're going to be posting it and you're going to see it appear on your timeline, and they're going to see it appear on their timeline numerous times. Again, one of those things that can get quite irritating. I run 2 groups. I run Sensible SENCO and SENCO Solutions for my own purposes, and I try not to cross-post into those 2 groups. So Sensible SENCO tends to be the chatty group. I'll post things about the videos, I'll talk about things that are going on. SENCO Solutions is where I tend to post the updates of things from the DFE or something that Bath Spa University have produced, or NASON or somebody like that. So it tends to be less chatty in there. I do try not to cross-post, but I'm guilty of it sometimes too, to be fair. Just to sum up Facebook then, it's good for asking questions and getting a variety of answers. But you have to decide whose voice you're going to listen to. Make sure it's somebody who can evidence their answers for you. I have a bit of a plea. If somebody has taken the time to answer your question, please say thank you. It would be really nice. And one thing I have noticed is if you post in the big groups, which is SENCO, SENDCO support, your posts are moderated by an admin, so you can't post directly. It has to go through a moderator and then they decide whether or not to release it. If you do that, it means you don't always get notified of any responses unless you are actually tagged into that response. My groups, Sensible, SENCO and SENDCO Solutions, I don't moderate them before you post, so you can post directly onto them just like you would on your own timeline. I do reserve the right to delete them if they're inappropriate though. Now that means because they're directly on there, you get notified of any responses straight away and haven't got to scroll through to find the post that's been reposted by the moderator of the group. I think that sometimes that's why people miss the answers to things. The second social media group I'd like to talk about is Twitter. So we call it Edu-Twitter, Education Twitter, and it's a bit like a school playground. You have an in-crowd and you have the standalones. If you're new to Twitter, then there are 2 hashtags that you really need to know. Hashtag FFB Wednesday, which is Follow Back Wednesday, and is run by Deputy Grocott. And hashtag Tiny Voice Tuesday, which is run by Toria Clare. And those will help you to find more followers and help you with your following. The idea is on Follow Back that you like and repost underneath on a Wednesday and say what you're doing. Other people will see that and they can then follow you, and if they follow you, the courtesy is to follow them back. I actually have a problem following people back at the moment because Twitter's put a bit of a ban on me from following anybody else. I'm apparently following too many people. I need some more followers before I can do any more following. The other way of finding people to follow on Twitter is to find the people that you like. So you could go and find me at SENCO Solutions and have a look at their list of follows and following and choose some of those. If you're doing it on a PC, it's actually pretty easy. If you're doing it on a phone or on a tablet, it's a little bit more tricky. You actually have to click into each individual to choose the follow button. But, you know, when you're starting out, it's not too much of a pain. At SENCO Chat hosts a weekly chat room. So it's usually on a Tuesday night, and sometimes she does it as a quick fire hour, and sometimes she does it as a slow burn over the week where she poses a question and people kind of just add to that thread over the week. I follow SENCOs, head teachers, NQTs, governors, authors and DSLs on my Twitter account. So just be careful. You need to look at people's biographies to find out, is this really somebody that I want to follow? Are they going to be posting things that are of interest to me? Or am I going to be posting things that are of interest to them? Groups are far less common on Twitter, so you're not going to find something like the SENCO chat room, the SENCO group in there. They do exist, but they are limited to 50 members. And I said a bit earlier on, I'm part of a safeguarding group in there, but we can only have 50 of us in there at any one time. I'd also suggest trying to find some famous names and following them. So you've got Natalie Packer, you've got David Bartram, and you've got Lorraine Peterson, just to name 3 of them. And they're good places to start in terms of SEN and the SENCO world. If you need an answer to something, then try tagging somebody who has more followers than you and asking them to perhaps retweet or give you an answer. I have about 4,500 followers at the moment, and I find myself tagged into things quite frequently with, hey, SENCO Solutions, do you think you can answer this for me? And I end up retweeting it to find them a better audience to actually answer that question for them. Nexus is also very good at retweeting things if you are desperate for something more generic for an answer. Again, on the bottom right hand side you'll see a little icon that allows you to add that tweet to your bookmarks, so you don't have to click the little heart and like it to follow it. Sometimes clicking the heart makes people think you agree with that statement and you might not. So you can click that bookmark and follow what's going on that way. Hashtags are your friend here, and I'm pretty useless at them. It depends what kind of device you're on, but if you're on a PC, on the right hand side you can see the trending hashtags on Twitter, and it's fascinating how often SEN type issues do actually come up. far more frequently than you would think they should. So Twitter, it's good for asking short questions that only need a short answer. Unfortunately, the character limit on Twitter is your enemy here, and the tone of the answers can sometimes be lost a little bit, where people are trying to cut them down so that they can get as much information across to you as possible, but within a character limit. So the third social media is LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me, I think, is more for your professional job hunting. It's not really a place to ask and have questions answered. It's a good place if you want to do some research, perhaps for a SENCO award, but it does depend on who your network is. So I found it a useful place to make contacts with people who will then go and take whatever it is I've put on there and repost it to Twitter, perhaps because they've got the audience, or the followers, if you like, who can actually respond to what I'm asking or what I'm trying to say. Good for hunting, good for research, but it's not really your forum for answering and asking questions. Okay, the fourth piece of social media then, Pinterest. Now, I'm a bit on the fence with Pinterest. I'm not a great fan. It's too American for me. And I am useless at using it to post things. Correct that. I can't be bothered. It's too much of a faff. But if I want inspiration for something, it can be a better place to go than going to Google, especially if I know what I am looking for. You can follow the pins of other people, and you can make your own pins public or private. The best way to describe it is it's a bit like a scrapbook, and you put all the articles you're interested in categories, so perhaps ADHD and autism. I then pin everything underneath those headings, so all the things that I'm interested in to do with ADHD, I click the pin, I say yes, I want to save this one, and I put it underneath that heading. When someone else is interested in ADHD, if my pins are public, they can see what I've gathered together in my scrapbook collection, and perhaps they can share it. So that works quite well if you're working with a team of people. Perhaps you're working with a group of TAs and you're exploring sensory ideas, and you could all go onto Pinterest and you can pin them and put them all in one group and share your group between you. It's not so good if you are hunting for elf on the shelf ideas that you're supposed to pin in your Christmas tab and forget and stick it underneath your ADHD tab. Guilty. I don't particularly have any recommendations of people to follow here. Just type in your topic of choice and see what comes up. It's good for inspiration, but you can't ask questions, and it does feel a little bit one way. All right then, YouTube. Well, you're here. This is YouTube. Okay? Now, if you haven't clicked the like and subscribe, I'm going to explain why that's really important. Even if you never watch another one of my videos. YouTube have an algorithm that they use to put videos on your suggested list. So you know when you load up YouTube, it comes up with that page with the dashboard, if you like, with some suggested videos on it. I could have 1 million followers, I wish. But if nobody liked the video, I wouldn't get pushed onto that page. I could have 1 million likes, but if I only have 1 follower, I won't get pushed onto that page. If you've ever noticed, my videos at the moment don't have adverts, so they can be quite long, they can be 30 minutes long, and there are no adverts interrupting it. That's because this channel at the moment isn't monetised. I'd love to get to that point because then I can give my profits back into schools, but to do that I need 1,000 subscribers and I need 4,000 watched hours. That's 240,000 minutes. It's a long time. YouTube has more American posts, so be careful with your terminology when you're looking for SEN materials. IEP means something very different in America to what we understand it to mean in the UK. And actually, we don't really use IEP in the UK anymore anyway, but it does have a different meaning. There are plenty of companies that will put their material out on YouTube about their programs, so you can find out how to use them. So say for example you wanted to use Trugs, which are teaching reading using games. You could type into the search bar Read Successfully, which is the company, and it will come up with a series of videos, some of which star Joanna, who is the company director, and she talks about it and how you could use it in schools and how it was developed, and some of which are actually children using that product. If you can't remember how to use Toe by Toe, then if you type that into the top search bar, it'll come up with a couple of videos showing you how to use it. Don't type in SENCO. Well, not unless you want a nail gun, because apparently SENCO is the name of a brand of nail gun. SENDCO is slightly more successful, although I'll put my hand up and be honest, if you type in SENDCO with the D in it, it's mostly my videos that actually come up. Special educational needs comes up with a good selection, but you need to be aware that most of them are not from the UK. And again, if you add UK to the end of special educational needs, you'll find that most of those videos are over 12 months old, and some of them as old as 6 years. Now, if we're talking about things to do with the new code of practice, there is no point watching something that was written 6 or 7 years ago, because that's not going to be strictly relevant to how we have to apply things in school at the moment. Most of the UK content is actually over 12 months old. I did a bit of a search before I came to film this video and had a look at that. You can search by date, and the majority of it is over 12 months old. And that's a little concerning, but also exciting for me, because that does mean mine is the most current information out there. Ooh, nice thought. Anyway, YouTube can be really useful for finding out about different needs. Now, you may not agree with this. There is a channel out there called Tourette's Teen, and I follow her because she is a 19-year-old New Zealand lady who has Tourette's, and she takes the pee out of herself, for the best way of putting it. She takes the pee out of her own disability, but that's her choice. But she actually explains about Tourette's in her early videos really, really well. It really helps you to understand how she feels, the way she behaves, and the things that she wants to do or doesn't want to do. I also follow the BSME, which is the British Schools in the Middle East, because they host free webinars, and then they post those webinars onto YouTube so that you can view them at a future date. And I have a couple of my videos are actually over there. I filmed them for the BSME in 2019, but there are a number of videos on there that are really, really useful and helpful, especially if you're in an international setting as well. Nexus Education are one to look out for. They are known for giving money to schools in exchange for letting them host on site. That's not happening at the moment, obviously, but they are now increasing their blogs on their website, but also their vlogs over on their YouTube channel as well. There is another video hosting site called Vimeo, which is less engaging. It's got a smaller audience, and therefore it has a smaller output from creators. There's not the incentive there to actually produce things and put it out onto Vimeo instead. So YouTube, it's good for understanding things, and it can be used to pose questions because you've got the comments section underneath. But if you do comment, remember to turn your notifications on, otherwise you won't know if anybody has actually responded to you. So other social media then. I'm not going to get into Snapchat and Instagram because I don't think they're professional platforms. I can't see them being of use to SENCOs. I might change my mind. I don't think so though, but Instagram and Snapchat to me are the kind of things that you take a photograph of your food with, or your kids doing something silly at the beach, and you share it with friends and family and neighbours. It's not a platform for sharing with SENCOs. My guide on social media also tells me that Tumblr is an option. Again, I don't see it being incredibly useful for SENCOs. It just looks like a picture app to me. There are two others I've explored, Reddit and TikTok. Now, most of my outtakes would probably make for pretty hilarious content on TikTok, but I can't see it being somewhere that I would go to regularly. If you know the name of the person or group or company that's uploading the content, then it might be useful. And no, I do not have an account, but I can't see how you would otherwise identify relevant SEN specific content on TikTok. Reddit is weird. I can't think of a different word to use for it. Honestly, it is just weird. A random question is posed, I don't know where they get the questions from, and individuals respond. And I am convinced that the aim is to put out the most outrageous story they possibly can. I follow Reddit threads on YouTube. I have a Reddit account and I occasionally look at it, but I actually follow it on YouTube instead. And I listen to the very monotonous computer output voice, and she sends me to sleep. Forums are the final form of social media, I suppose, but they seem to be losing popularity. There is a SENCO forum. It was relaunched last year. It used to be hosted by the DFE and it's now moved over to another group. And I get an email each time somebody posts on the SENCO forum. However, what I have to do is I then have to go and log in to the SENCO forum, try and work out which thread it was under, and then try and track out where it was. So there isn't an easy trail to actually follow. Can you tell I'm not a particular fan of it? That said, I have been a member of the SENCO forum for far too many years. I actually can't even work it out, if I'm honest. I'm sure it was 2006. And it was in the time before Facebook and Twitter and other social media became popular. So it was the only place as a SENCO that you could go to get an outside voice to talk to. And I'm really grateful to those people who were on there who used to answer our questions. I'm also a member of an educational psychology forum. I have no idea how I managed to get in there, but like the SENCO forum, it's email trail. So I get an email to say something's been posted. I then have to log into it to find out what's going on and find out the answers. Forums, they're very much a question and answer, which is great if you want that kind of thing, but the answers do tend to be a bit blunt in their approach, and they're quite slow as well. So unlike Facebook perhaps, where you post a question and like I said within an hour you've perhaps got the answers coming in, because these forums tend to work where they are emailing people at a certain time, it might be a day before they respond and then a day before you realise they've responded, and then you go in and check their answer, realise you don't understand it and post something else underneath it. So they're not exactly dynamic is probably the word I'm looking for. I hope that gave you an idea of some of the forms of social media and how they could be used to support a SENCO in their role. You are more than welcome to join any of my social media groups, and I'd love some more followers on Twitter so that I can follow some more people myself. So please do come and find me over there. Join the Facebook groups if you haven't done already, and remember to click that like and subscribe so I can hit that algorithm and hopefully at some point get this channel monetized so we can start giving money back to schools. Take care everyone.